On Route 6, we depart from Hall's Gap to Cape Jervis, a total of about 572 kilometers. We travel via Horsham to see one of the more decorated grain silos. We visit the beautiful Pink Lake and travel via Strathalbyn to Victor Harbor to see where the Murray River via Lake Alexandrina enters the ocean, but also to visit Granite Island. Then we stop in Cape Jervis for the crossing by ferry to Kangaroo Island. The Horsham Silo art, created by Smug in May 2022, tells the story of Yangendi Inanyuk, a skilled tracker, as evidenced by an incident in the winter of 1864, when a desperate father sought his help in finding his 3 young children who had become lost in the dense scrub. Despite the heavy rain that had washed away all traces of the children, Yangendi Inanyuk, accompanied by 2 other Aboriginal trackers, embarked on a search. With remarkable skill and knowledge of the area, he navigated the terrain and eventually discovered the children, barely alive. He was also among the selection of 13 Aboriginal men to form the first Australian cricket team to visit England. South Australia is home to a much more remarkable collections of painted grain silos that form part of the Australian Silo Art Trail, transforming rural grain silos into vibrant, large-scale murals celebrating local culture, history, and community. Situated 6 kilometers northwest of Dimboola along the Western Highway, the Pink Lake gets its vibrant color from a salt-tolerant alga living in the salt crust. The lake's color varies throughout the seasons and is generally most striking after rain events. In the heat of summer, during extended dry spells, it can fade completely to white, but burst back into color following the next rain. A good destination to ride the historic horse-drawn tram across the causeway to Granite Island. The tramway commenced operation in 1894 and is one of 2 remaining in the world that operate a daily service. You can meet the beautiful Clydesdale's horses at their day yard and at the station for a great photo opportunity. Some history information. The South Australian Railway reached Victor Harbor in 1864. When a pier adjacent to the railway station was constructed. In 1867, the pier was extended to reach Granite Island, and a railway track was laid on it. By then, Increasing numbers of visitors and holidaymakers were turning the causeway into a local attraction. The SAR decided to utilize a surplus double-deck horse-drawn tram to offer a passenger service. The line was closed in 1955 when the old working jetty and remnants of the Victoria Pier were being demolished by the Harbours Board, and in 1954, the causeway was reconstructed without rails. Between 1956 and 1986, 2 rubber-tired trailers towed by a small Ferguson tractor, later by a Land Rover. Reinstatement of the horse tramway was one such project. 4 replica trams were built in 1986, each to carry 52 passengers. In the 1990s, rubber matting was installed on the causeway to assist the horses. At 2,508 kilometers in length, the Murray-Darling is Australia's longest river. The Murray Estuary remains open to the sea, even during droughts. The estuary is an opening in the dune system that separates the river from the ocean and extends southeastward along the coastline for a distance of approximately 145 kilometers. The estuary divides the dune system into 2 peninsulas. On the west side at the estuary with a point called Pullen Spit, and on the east side with a point called Sleepy Hollow. An open estuary contributes to the preservation of the ecologically protected wetland and allows salt, nutrients, and suspended sediment to be discharged into the sea. Due to current excessive water extraction upstream, river currents are largely insufficient to counteract the wave and tidal processes that propel sea sand and thus narrow the Murray Estuary. Dredging operations are necessary to keep the access open. Port Willunga Beach is one of the region's most photographed beaches, featuring the remains of the Port Willunga jetty. Located approximately 35 km south of Adelaide, the beach is famous for its golden cliff faces, crystal clear waters, and soft white sands, the type that squeaks between your toes. It is an ideal spot for those long beach walks on the wet sand, with only the sound of waves lapping at your feet. Nestled on the edge of the cliff top is the Star of Greece restaurant, offering stunning views along the coast and named after a nearby shipwreck. Sections of the hull of the Star of Greece, which sank in 1888, remain on the sea floor and makes for a popular diving spot. At low tide, parts of the wreck may still be visible from the shore. Myponga Beach occupies a small valley that has been carved by Myponga Creek and is now partially filled with river and marine sediments, forming a flat plain occupied by a few houses and an elongated lagoon and wetland that flows across the southern end of the beach. Houses and shacks line the rear of this 400-meter-long unpatrolled beach, so much so a seawall has been built to protect some of the properties. It is moderately steep and fronted by a narrow continuous bar, with waves averaging about 0.5 meters. The beach was used as a port, and the ruins of the old jetty are still present. Swimming is relatively safe in the sandy central portion of the beach, and it is a popular spot for both launching boats and for shore-based fishing off the adjacent rock reefs.